We need to Google Black Forest.
I'm
Ghetto,
sure,
it's
no,
a ghetto.
I'm sure Black
it's
Forest
a
cob
cake.
is a horse.
Black Forest cob.
It is.
Black Forest.
I know something Pip doesn't know.
Doo-dah.
You know, whenever I feel stressed or annoyed, just being alone and having that rhythmical pace of the horse and the smell of them, it makes me so much of a nicer person. I wasn't his wife when he rode across the Atlantic. He proposed to me just afterwards, and I actually thought he was having he'd gone a bit mad.
Welcome to Talk Horse.
I'll gallop through the highs and lows of the equestrian world.
I'm Pippa Funnell. I've been an event rider most of my career, and I'm an author of a series of children's books, Pippa's Ponytails.
I'm Tristan Phipps. You may recognise me from Made in Chelsea. However, I am an ex-safari guide, a lover of all things horses, horse curious, and learning more and more each week from the very best.
Today we have someone who absolutely loves the outdoors. She's very keen in promoting getting kids involved with ponies, all things that I'm absolutely behind.
Absolutely. She also has some very successful podcasts and some very adorable dogs, so I'm sure we're going to have lots to talk about today.
So do like and subscribe our pod, as we want loads more people to hear all about us. Yeah, so tell your friends.
Saddle up, join our question community, and
Let's talk horse. Hello, Tristan.
Hello, Pip.
Well, the season has finished. The event season has finished. A lot of horses are on holiday. I think some riders will be going on holiday. We've got a couple of younger riders that are going to spend some time with us, sort of seeing how our setup works. And a lot of maybe working away on their young horses in preparation for next season.
And maybe you get a holiday quite soon, because I think when this episode goes out, you've got about 10 days until you go away for your little annual trip.
I can't wait, yeah.
Are you going to ride when you're in Barbados?
No,
No, absolutely not. No?
no
Proper
riding.
feet up,
Yeah.
holiday mode.
Feet up, yeah, a lot of fun with some great mates. It's a great holiday.
A well-deserved holiday as well, I imagine.
Yeah, look forward to it, because it is, like everyone knows, you know, with horses it's 24/7,
Yeah.
7 days a week, and yeah, that's got to last us for a while, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I will also be on holiday when this goes out, but not that mine's as well-deserved as yours.
Well, you go
Sounded
to a
on.
lot. You go away a lot, don't you?
See, this is what happens if you don't
Your
have...
work holidays.
Yeah, some are working holidays, some are holidays, but if you haven't got horses, or
For yapping terriers.
4 yapping terriers, or children, or... Well, I would always go on holiday with my girlfriend. I do get to escape a little bit more often, but I will be in South Africa and you'll be on the beach in Barbados. So, hope you're enjoying your tan. We are drawing closer and closer to the London International Horse Show as well. So just a reminder for those at home, we do have a special discount code for tickets. TalkHorse25 gets you 25% off. So we're hoping to see a lot of you there. We're doing 2 live shows on the Friday or Saturday, 3 shows in total over the London International Horse Show. Please come down. We want to interact with you. And on the subject of interactions, we've had some lovely listener questions recently, which I think we should go through. Most of these will be directed to you, maybe 1 or 2 to me, but we do love you sending them in, so please do send in all your questions, stories, anecdotes. We would love to share the love. So Helen Boxall, this one's for you, asks, Pippa, there have been lots of improvements over the years within the equestrian industry, but if you could turn back the clock to have something in the industry return/pause the clocks so it's never lost, what would it be?
I love the old days with the long format 3-day event with the roads and tracks and the steeplechase, because I think in the sport of eventing it really taught us, you know, how to really get horses very fit. I think it helped with our cross country, because with the steeplechase it taught us to ride at speed over the more brush type fences, steeplechase fences, and so then when you went cross country you're actually going slower cross country than you used to have to go steeplechase, and I think so it helped enormously with judging pace, whereas now the fastest you ever go now is over solid fences. So yes, it's more technical now, and in many ways the length of the cross country has been reduced, but that's made it tougher because there are more jumping efforts in a shorter space. I really think it taught riders a lot about getting horses fit and getting used to riding at speed over very forgiving fences.
That was a very good answer. Next question. question for me, actually.
Oh, do you want me to ask it?
Would you like? Would you
No,
like
because
to start?
I'll have to find my glasses.
I was about to
So
say.
you read your question out.
Well, you can help me actually answer this one. Tristan, what is the most important equestrian lesson that you've learnt to date and would advocate in the industry going forwards? I think
I'm
that's
quite interested to hear how you answer this one. You've been
important equestrian lesson. I think
you've done a lot. We've done a lot of episodes now.
yeah, but I think the one thing that ties all of our episodes together is championing horses and doing right by the horse and making sure you build a partnership in the correct way, learn the correct things from the beginning, and I think I think every single person from every different facet of this equestrian world would agree on that. What you guys always come back to is making sure that you do right by the horse, and as you said, it is a partnership, it's a teamwork, and stay humble and try and do your best for the individual animal.
That's absolute music to my ears, because that was one of the main reasons, if not the most important reason why I did the podcast. So that
I think that lesson has rung true.
That's it's really thrilled me that's one of the main things that you've taken out, because to me the most important thing is that the listeners are taking that message as well. And yes, most of the listeners that are involved with horses will absolutely know the importance of partnership, but I think for the horse curious like yourselves, or for youngsters coming through, that's a lesson that is the message we really, really want to get across in doing these podcasts and with the guests that we have on the show.
Pip, this one's for you from Joe Ingle. Pippa, please tell us your story about arriving to compete at Burghley, having purchased your blouse en route. I love that blouse. Where did you get it?
Oh God, I wish I knew this question was coming up, because I would have worn the blouse. Maybe one of the episodes coming up. It's a very vibrant blouse.
Yeah.
It's quite loud. But I was doing my food shop for Burghley. I was thinking, I hadn't really got around to thinking, what am I going to wear for the trot up, the vet's inspection, the first vet's inspection, which is often a bit of a fashion show.
Okay. When
I came out of Sainsbury's, there was a sale on in the little boutique clothes shop next door. So I went in and there was this very loud but very sort of jazzy shirt. And
I'm thinking floral, quite...
Oh, well, I'll wear it at some stage. Yeah. I will wear it. I'll wear it and I'll explain. It's quite loud, very colourful, and I wore it with white trousers and I was very lucky. I had been given a pair of long Fairfax boots, and then you had different coloured tassels, don't you? And I had a tassel that matched the shirt.
Fashionista.
And anyway, it was, they give a prize, hi-ho, for best dressed.
And you won it.
And I won it, and I told the story that this shirt was very cheap. It was from a shop called 140 that really sadly has closed down now. But it's a lovely shirt, and actually a couple of the shirts I've worn have been from that shop. But I'll wear it, Joe. Yeah. I'll wear it
Joe,
next time.
in honour of you, Pippa will have it on next time. This one is from a dear friend of yours, Louise Bell.
Ah, Louise.
Louise says, "Where's my merch?" Full stop.
That means we need to send some hoodies, baseball caps, talk horse mugs.
Louise, you're gonna get the whole works now. Everything. Yes. What else have we got? What else can we give her?
You're not giving her your pony club.
No, that's mice. But you can have one of these little muff protectors. Is that what it's called? You know, that's cool.
Muff.
A little muff
Louise,
protector.
Did you hear that?
Louise, you can have one of my muff protectors if you so like. Well, those are our questions for today. Please do send any more in. Anything. Maybe where my clothes are from. Well, anything. We can vet it, obviously.
Okay.
Just keep them coming in. We've got a game. I'm hoping that this is going to be a draw. I hope we're going to get 1 point each. So the game is called Photo Finish. We've got 30 seconds each to name a number of things from 2 categories. The first one, you'll go first, is horse breeds. So you've got 30 seconds to name as many horse breeds as possible. I'll put my fingers in my ears, and then I'm going to embarrass myself on camera once again. Are you ready?
30 seconds.
You're thinking already. You've got to go.
No, I'm not.
3, 2, 1.
Shire, Shetland, Welsh Pony, Dartmoor, Exmoor.
Fingers are going up quickly.
Thoroughbred, Connemara, Dutch Warmer, Holsteiner, Trakehner, Lipizzaner, Suffolk Punch.
She's still going.
Norwegian, Fell, Welsh Section A, Welsh Section B, Welsh Section C.
There was a lot of fingers going up over there.
Yeah. So that was 18.
Bugger.
So have you got to do 18 now?
If I get half, that's impressive, right?
Okay.
Okay. Mustang, Thoroughbred, Appaloosa, Palomino.
No, that's a colour.
No, is that colour? Black Forest. Cob.
Zagato!
A cob. No, Black Forest cob. We'll fact check that. Shetland.
Black Forest.
No, I Google that. That's true.
We need to Google Black Forest.
I'm
Gatto,
sure,
it's
no,
a
I'm
gatto,
sure Black
it's
Forest
a
cob
cake.
is a horse.
Black Forest cob.
I'm sure.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Black Forest.
I know something Pip doesn't know. So how do you feel that I know something that you don't know about horses?
Doodah.
Something you don't know. Doodah. A Black Forest cob likely refers to either a gypsy cob with a Black Forest bloodline or a specific Black Forest horse that may be of a lighter draft build, often associated with cobs. So I think I get 4 points for that, bringing the total score up to
10 and I was on 18.
Right, so it's 1-0 to you. Fair enough. The second section of this game, I'm hoping that I will win. It is safari animals. 3, 2.
Lion, rhino, hippopotamus, elephant, lion, baboon, hyena, wild dog, crocodile,
She's looking panicked over there.
buffalo, gazelle, antelope, zebra, rhinoceros, oh my god, chipmunk, mongoose, cheetah, leopard. What else do I see when I'm in the job? Warthog.
So that's 16.
16. Pretty damn good.
Not good enough.
16. If I don't win this, I'm losing my career as a safari guide. Okay, tell me when. Red Hartebeest, Tessaby, Dyker, Thompson's Gazelle, Sitatunga, Impala, Warthog, Bushbuck, Nyala, Roebuck, Elephant, Grevy Zebra, Buffalo, Black Rhino, White Rhino, Cheetah, Mongoose, Aardvark, Sidestriped Jackal, Blackback Jackal, Meerkat, Opossum,
Show off,
Lion, Leopard.
Show off.
24.
Okay, well, so you should.
Call that a
You're
draw?
a safari guide.
So you should win the...
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. I knew something that Pip didn't know about horses.
Doodah.
I think it is time to introduce our very special guest today. She is a lover of the wild, lover of adventures, lovers of animal and the countryside. Today's guest on Talk Horse is Marina Fogle, broadcaster, writer and passionate amateur eventer.
She's also Ben Fogle's wife.
She is also, and I have to say, I'm a massive fanboy of Ben Fogle, but he's a massive icon for me. Really excited to hear about their amazing journey together. Marina's done so much in her own right as well, has a very successful podcast as well. She grew up with ponies and rediscovered her love for riding after moving to the countryside and now shares an equestrian life with her children and her adventurer husband, Ben Fogle.
So, let's talk horse with Marina. Marina, welcome to Talk Horse.
Thank you for having
joining
me.
Absolute pleasure.
I'm a bit starstruck, I've got to say. This is very, very exciting for me. And also really unusual for me to be a guest. Usually I'm the interviewer, so it's actually lovely.
We're about to say any tips or tricks.
We are,
because you are
yeah.
a very well-established podcast host. Please do let us know.
We're still amateurs. We're still in our first year.
Well, Pip's forgotten we're actually almost to our 50th episode now. It's happening quite quickly.
You don't sound like amateurs, I've got to say. It's a very slick operation.
Thank you very much. It really is a pleasure. And we're very much looking forward to hearing about your tips and what your life story is. And Tristan always has his favourite first question that everyone...
Yeah, just to
is
kick us
asked.
off with on the equestrian vein. So what was it that first kind of connected you with horses and how did you establish a relationship?
I was very lucky. I had ponies growing up. My mother, actually, the reason she came to the UK, she's Austrian, was because she was working at the Munich Olympics as an interpreter actually for equestrian sports, and became great friends with the British eventing team. So specifically Richard Mead, who she then agreed to drive his car back to England, met all the gang and thought, I love this place. So she moved here, ended up working in a hospital as a nurse, met my father, who's a doctor, and that was 50 years ago. So when we were growing up, she was quite keen for us to have horses. She never rode that much herself, but I remember being about 7 or 8, and there was a little riding school in our village, and my sister Chiara and I used to volunteer at this riding school. I mean, I don't think we were teaching, but there wasn't much health and safety, and we used to go along. And as far as I remember, this riding school was under a tree. That was the entire infrastructure, and we loved it. And then we got ponies. I had this little git of a pony called Jester, who used to buck me off at every opportunity, and I loved Jester so much.
Despite the bucking.
Despite the bucking. And I remember so well, I went to boarding school and I spent weeks missing him, and then I'd come home and he'd be in the field and I'd run out to the field and he'd pin his ears back and charge at me, and I'd scramble back over the fence, desperately sad. But in spite of being such a git, I loved him so much, and I felt very connected to kind of riding and friends in the pony club, and it was something I really wanted for my children.
So talk us through, so how was that pony club experience for you? Because we've had so many amazing riders, many amazing people in the equestrian world who have come up through pony club, and I think for every single person it's been so special in different ways. I think, you know, we've had the chairman of the pony club on the podcast as well, and it's Marcus, who's an amazing chap. But I think it teaches you so much as a young person, right?
Absolutely. You could be a bit feral. I remember going to pony club camp, which was hands down the highlight of my year. You know, I had a pretty privileged upbringing, but that week in a field with no access to washing facilities and no reason to brush my teeth was just heaven. And some of my closest friends are still my friends from pony club. And
really amazing.
My great friend Emily, I'm godmother to her son. She's godmother to my daughter. And I really have kind of lifelong friends. And I think what was lovely is I wasn't a particularly good rider. I wasn't very competitive, but that didn't really matter because there was something for everyone. And I just remember there was that kind of unwritten rule that you could be kind of quite rude to each other, but you could not be rude about anyone else's pony. So Jester, even though he actually bucked off the instructor and broke her leg, but that was quite good because we were finding her quite annoying, so we got a replacement.
That was brave of her to get on.
Tactical move from
Brave
Jester.
of her to get on a pony. I must admit, I'm not sure I would be quite brave enough when I teach people on ponies, because I think ponies can be quite naughty, can't they, when you climb onto them?
Completely forgot. I'd love to offer you a glass of sparkling wine, if I may. Before we get into the nitty gritty, it's quite nice to trade out the tea and coffee for a little glass of sparkling wine.
Might curdle my tea. I'm still got a
There you go.
cup of tea here.
You can double up, Pip. But in the meantime, please tell us. So I think you know you're all about the importance of connecting young people to the countryside, and Pony Club I think was a massive part of that. What is it about kids being outside and your time in the Pony Club that you really think is the most special part of being part of that?
It's really interesting seeing it with my children now, because it's a lot of work having horses. We've got 5 horses at home. We do them. There's no one else that helps us with them. And there are definitely times when my husband Ben is like, it's a lot.
Because we haven't, obviously, Marina, for the listeners, of course you're married to Ben Fogle, who spends obviously much of his time away with all he does with his presenting, and so I just want to say to the listeners that you're obviously Ben's better half, but both of you are great promoters of the countryside and that whole way of life and nature, and it's something, absolutely, I think it's, with the Pony Club, with kids, I think more than ever in this day and age, and you're a parent, I'm not, but it must be with everything going on and the screens and the computer games and modern technology, there are all sorts of worries that parents must have that my parents didn't have when I was growing up. We did. I mean, I grew up in the country and I grew up getting muddy and filthy, and
which I think is such an important part of being a young person. Like as you said, the lessons that you learn from it.
I think so, and I think if you can be confident around horses, you've got a pretty good start in life. Because, you know, I look at my daughter who probably weighs 40 kilos and she'll lead my horse in from the field and he'll be silly and she'll square up to him and tell him not to be silly. And of course, he's way bigger than her. He can do what he wants, but he thinks she's the one that's in charge. And I think there's a great lesson in that sometimes you are the weaker party, but if you believe you're the stronger one and if you make it believed that you are the stronger one, you're off to a head start. And I mean, there's being frightened, and it's not very often that children are frightened. And I think fear is an important thing to feel, because you will feel that in life. So how do you deal with it? How do you cope with nerves? And then the challenges of, you know, if a child is competing, I try and take Iona out of school a bit to compete, because actually I think there's so much learning in it.
She's 15.
She's 14 now.
14, so she's in the pony club, but she's keen on eventing.
Keen on eventing, exactly, and would like to do that. I'm not sure
Good
I'd
luck.
like her to do that.
Good luck.
Any advice?
I know. Well, I know my poor mother went through many years of I think mixture of nerves. She was competitive on one hand, but very nervous on the other. And yes, good luck to you.
But it's good to challenge them. You know, just learning a dressage test and performing it in front of 1 or 2 judges with lots of people watching, remembering a show jumping course. She did her first 2-day event, did roads and tracks the other day. I was like, oh my God, she can't even remember where her socks are. How she's going to remember 12 kilometres of roads and tracks and where to go and the timing. But actually, I think she surprised herself. She certainly surprised me. I think there's a great opportunity. Horses bring a great opportunity for them to learn kind of fundamental skills that can't be taught in the classroom. So, you know, back to Ben, who sort of looks at these horses and looks at us trudging out and, you know, to put more hay in the field. And, you know, and also the risk, you know, there's dogs are nearly trampled and I got kicked last year and all that kind of stuff. He sort of thinks, oh God, but then he sees the benefit of it. And he was saying, God, I'm actually so impressed with both of the children, you know, how responsible they are considering their ages. And, you know, like you said, if she wasn't doing that, she'd be sitting on a screen. I'm quite sure of it. But instead, she's out and about, looking after her horses and loving it. And I think that's worth it.
I think it's so essential these days as well that young people have, you know, I know you and Ben are such big advocates for being connected to the countryside and nature and the outdoors, that sort of thing. And I personally didn't go through Pony Club, but I do have to say, full transparency, you know, I have spent quite a bit of time with Ben in the past. We actually shared a tent together in Tanzania and Kenya filming a documentary, and he's been a massive inspiration for me in the direction my career has taken. My sisters grew up going through Pony Club. I grew up digging up worms and spending time in the woods. And for me, it was kind of, you know, that importance of connecting with something bigger than yourself at a young age, which I think Pony Club and all the lessons that you've obviously taught me, Pip, from the equestrian world and everything that you advocate in your broadcasting career and your writing career, you know, is so important. And I just think it's fantastic how there's people who have been on the podcast who have become, you know, Olympians, you know, chef de keeps, who have started in Pony Club, but then also people who've, you know, had so many different careers or different directions based on the foundation of learning that they had from such a young age at an organisation like Pony Club.
And horses, you know, obviously they keep you real, they keep you grounded, don't they? And they teach you you have to be responsible.
It's really interesting to see people that don't know horses interacting around horses versus someone who's grown up with a Pony Club. And there are just certain things, if you know horses, you would just never do. You know, just actually more kind of around safety. It's how you're holding, how you're handling them, where you are around them. It's almost like a sort of sixth sense. And you know, it feels like very rarely are children exposed to such a lot of risk and such unpredictable situations today, apart from horses. And I remember when my children joined the same Pony Club that I was at, I did think, God, is it going to have been ruined by health and safety? Because it was a little bit chaotic and children do fall off and they do have injuries. And yes, there is an element of risk, but I am so glad to say it hasn't. And these instructors, they're just made of steel. They'll be ponies bolting around the field and they'll be just under control and very calm about the whole thing. And, you know, it usually turns out absolutely fine. But I like the fact that this is not a sort of sanitized version of life. If you get kicked, you get kicked. And so you
learn
will
to get out of the way. And
Yeah.
never get I mean,
this
the
isn't
lessons
like
learned.
Legoland.
Yeah.
And probably a
This is
lesson you only
the
wanna
real
learn once.
world.
Yeah.
And responsibility of a 12-hand pony is the same as the responsibility of a 16-hand horse. And I like the fact that, you know, we have to teach them to grow up. There's such a tendency to just mollycoddle children, wrap them in cotton wool, because of course we get them when they're completely incapable of doing anything. And actually they grow up, and I think they thrive on responsibility and being given the responsibility of looking at risk and working out what is too risky and what is worth doing and what's not, and when to call for help and when to get out of a sticky situation. You know, the online world, I think, is way more dangerous. And,
Completely agree.
you know, my son is going to be 16 in a couple of months. Next year, he'll be able to drive. You know,
Wow.
So it's so good when they leave school and they either go on a gap year or they go to university, that they've had this, you know, exposure to challenge in life. And I think through horses, that's a great way of exposing them to that and preparing that for the real world.
But we're obviously talking about you as a parent. You know, there'll be many parents listening. I mean, I'm not a parent, but it must be, you know, for instance, in the world, like we're talking about the dangers of particularly eventing or the risk of horse sport. As a parent, that, you know, what you're saying is brilliant, but for those listening, sometimes you'd think, well, it's just be such an easier life not to subject my kids to those sort of dangers and give them an easy, you know, try and encourage them down a different route of a slightly safer hobby.
It's much easier to be more averse to risk when it comes to people you love, and that's often your children. So it's really easy. I was reading a piece the other day about how the hardest part of being a parent is letting them go so that they then come back. That is absolutely the hardest thing, but I feel that if you're committed to them, you've got to do it. And listen, they've grown up in a household where risk is something we all, you know, Ben climbed Everest a few years ago. He rode across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
He walked to the South Pole. He has all sorts of photos and mementos and scars and stories and TV shows. You know, they definitely were sort of born into this world where risk is something that we evaluate, but we do embrace. We're not scared of. And I think he likes that aspect of the horses.
I've got to ask you though, I mean, whether it's climbing Mount Everest or I remember following on the television his rowing across the Atlantic. As a wife, mother at home, oh my God, that must have been nerve-wracking for you, wasn't it?
I wasn't his wife when he rowed across the Atlantic. He proposed to me just afterwards, and I actually thought he was having he'd gone a bit mad because he started acting really weirdly.
Was it
and got
that
drunk.
long ago?
Stuck on a boat for that.
20 years ago.
Oh my God.
20 years ago.
Sorry, I can't believe it's that long ago.
Yeah, I know. And you know, I often get asked, how do you deal with him doing this? But, you know, he did propose to me after he rowed across the Atlantic, so I knew what I was getting myself into. And it's really exciting. You know, I get to be on the front line of all these adventures without having to do them myself, which is sort of the perfect spot for me. If I sort of look back on that, we had the most intense time because we were all worrying. They had a GPS tracker, but they capsized halfway across, so they lost all communications. So we thought they were okay because they were travelling in the right direction at some speed.
But you had no idea, really.
But we didn't really know. And they didn't know that because they didn't know that the tracker was working, so they'd lost all comms. So Ben, who obviously had lots of time to think out on the Atlantic, thought he was going to row into Antigua and find his obituary had been written. I was like, no. And he got when they got into reception for the VHF radio, he said, "Can you get word to my family I'm okay?" And the message came back going, "Oh, they know. They're all drinking rum punches in Antigua."
Oh, I bet they were looking forward to those rum punches when they got there.
Yeah, a very well-deserved rum punch.
And so then with the podcast, so that... when did that come about?
I started something called the Bump Class, which is an antenatal education company. So basically preparing people before their babies were born, with my sister who's a GP. And she was just finding that people were really inadequately prepared for the birth of their children, or experiencing what they termed traumatic births that didn't need to be traumatic. It was just that they weren't prepared for anything other than the ideal kind of very straightforward natural birth. So even something like a cesarean was deemed traumatic because no one had explained to them what was happening. So we started that in about 2011, 2012. And actually Dan Snow, who's a great friend, said he was just getting into podcasting. He said, you girls, you must have your own podcast. And Chiara has access to loads of experts. And so we started The Parenthood kind of at the beginning of podcasting, and it was really successful, and it was great fun to do because I was having conversations with people from everything from sort of preconception through to the teenage years, and just, interesting conversations around, how to have difficult conversations with your children, and then things like, chicken pox and how to get rid of nits, and then kind of slightly more thoughtful topics. But I really enjoyed the sort of variety of conversations and the brilliant people I met.
I know you're an ambassador for Burghley Horse Trials. And look at that win, that amazing victory of Roz's on Walter, Lordship's Gruffalo, and there she is, 4 and a bit months pregnant. Well, I'm not sure exactly, and that's incredible within our sport. Tina was another person. Tina Cook rode around Burghley with her daughter,
Mary King. I was thinking about it, and because there was something, especially she announced it before Burghley, which I thought was really ballsy, because she could so easily not have announced it. Although she was showing a little bit at Burghley, I thought.
She was definitely showing, and I think she felt she probably had to announce it because otherwise people would be going, when they announced the team for the European Championships.
Yeah.
She had to basically, she felt she had to let them know that she was pregnant. And I think she very much felt that in a team situation, she almost had to run. And because of the situation being at Burghley as an individual, if she felt a bit poorly or suddenly felt, actually, my mind's telling me I shouldn't, then it's off her own back. Whereas if she's actually on a team member, then she's going to be feeling she's got to do it because got to ride cross country or got to do it because of the team.
I thought it was really interesting because obviously equestrian sport's the only sport where men and women compete on a level playing field. And so while part of me was thinking, oh, gosh, that's, imagine if something happens, it would be awful for Ros, be pretty awful for the sport. A lot of people think riding horses and certainly eventing is irresponsible. But then I sort of also thought you can't have a sport where men and women are competing on on a level playing field and then prevent one sex from taking part because they're pregnant when men can't carry children. Yeah. And I actually think that it's a really important lesson when it comes to pregnant women being their own advocates and kind of working out for themselves what they feel is right. Ros is not irresponsible. She would have, she knows the horse, she knows Burghley. She was evaluating her very own risk factors and they were completely unique to her. But I do feel that it's so easy to tell pregnant women what to do and also dismiss their fears. And I think one of the safest things you can do when you're pregnant is to listen to your body. And if you think there's something wrong, shout about it, like properly shout about it until you get heard. And so I feel kind of on reflection, and I know that it's easier to feel this with the hindsight of the most stunning victory. But actually, I think she did an amazing thing for women and pregnant women to say, don't be afraid to be assertive, to do what you feel is right. And I think it would have been completely wrong to prevent her from riding. I do feel that it was really important for it to be her decision. And actually, I thought she spoke very eloquently about it. She was saying that even on the day, she was unsure. She's not cavalier. And I thought that actually she was a great spokeswoman for women who are pregnant, but also are competitive and driven and love their job and are extremely good at it. Yeah. I thought it was an amazing, amazing victory.
So do you get to spend much time in the saddle these days?
I do. I was riding this morning. I bought myself a horse when I was, about 45, having not had a horse for a long time. I started exercising a friend of mine's horses. She was like, you should buy your own horse. I was like, absolutely no way. I don't need that in my life. And then, of course, a few years later, I have 5 of them at home.
So you've got a horse yourself and then the some ponies for the kids or horses. Well,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
on
yeah.
horses now, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not very good at selling horses once the children
Once they get
are out of them.
emotionally-
So we've
yeah.
basically kept all the horses we have. But you know what? They all live out. It's a lovely environment. But Jack is my midlife crisis present. And actually, Ben was so good because I was really thinking, do I go for it? And you know, he was a bit of a better horse than I wanted. I was like, I'll just get some old nag so I can hack with the kids. And he was like, no, Marina, do something that's just for you. You've not done something that is completely for you for the last decade. Everything has been for the family. And it's just the best thing. I have a group of friends who I ride with, and, you know, whenever I feel stressed or annoyed, even going for a slightly boring hack, just being alone and having that rhythmical, you know, pace of the horse and the smell of them and that kind of mindfulness, it makes me so much of a nicer person. Like Ben will literally go, I think you need to go for a ride this morning. I think Jack looks like he would like to go for a ride.
It's funny, my husband says that the whole time to me. I think you need to go for a ride, and another one, and another one. And then I think maybe he's just trying to get me to ride more horses of his.
I think it's so special how they can be, you know, because we've had a lot of people on the pod who are, you know, professional athlete riders, that sort of thing, in Olympians, but the horses do offer something for everyone, you know, and it can be so therapeutic to spend time with these animals. And, you know, everyone has their own connection to horses, and it doesn't matter if you're competing at top level or, you know, you're doing pony club at a certain level, whatever it is, horses offer something for everyone.
I think you're right. And, you know, I'm 47 now, kind of well into middle age. It's so good to still have something that's a real passion and a real hobby, but also something that sometimes pushes you out of your comfort zone. Like, I quite like being a little bit scared. I quite like, you know, I'll occasionally do some cross-country training with an instructor. And actually, how often does someone my age get given a lesson in something? It's usually everything goes to the children. And I think it's so easy when you get to a certain age to feel a bit irrelevant. I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I get such a buzz out of pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I did a team chase with my daughter last year, and honestly, coming through the finish line, it was like I had won Burghley. I mean, in my mind, I was there on the podium, and this was just like a little team chase, but I hadn't done that since I was 15, and it was such a buzz. And I think for kind of looking after your mental health and keeping yourself young and also giving yourself purpose, that's not just about kind of family and everyone else, because it's so easy. You know, Ben's got an amazing career. My kids, you know, they demand a lot, and it'd be quite easy for me to be everything for everyone else. But Ben quite rightly recognised that this would be something that would be really beneficial for the whole family, and I've never looked back. It's kind of one of the best decisions I ever made.
So I think it's a really good message. Anyone out there listening, take it back up again. I mean, I know we had, when you were a waitress, and I had a great old mate of mine doing an episode, Justine Ward, who has 3 kids, and she started eventing again at the age of sort of 52, and she absolutely loves it. And same thing, you know, she's pushing herself out of her comfort zone the whole time, and she's actually having some really good results now. But I think she's really, really inspiring a lot of people, like you will be, a lot of people in their midlife, to just get out there, get going again.
And also, it's so lovely being around other horsey people. There's a whole community, whether you're, you know, going eventing with your daughter. I like every conversation I have with people, you know, it's kind of frazzled mothers like me who are all a bit nervous. You have great conversations, and then kind of friends of mine who ride. I went on we went down to Exmoor on a girls' riding holiday. It was 8 of us, the girls and their geldings, and it was just so lovely to have 3 days, just no husbands, no children.
I bet
just
some
us.
wine is drunk on that
and
in the
everything.
Damn right, as you should.
That's what you're saying. I should go and have a girly
I've been trying to
trip.
tell you this I've said to Pippa, I'll go and look after the dogs in the house for her,
House
so she
sit
can.
while I go.
Because I mean, you don't get. I mean, yeah, because if you have got horses at home, I mean, you
Well,
must know
normally
as well. And also,
I mean-
a daughter who rides, it must be demand a lot as well. So you do need to do things for yourself. You certainly do as well, Pip.
Well,
You're
I
one
obviously
holiday a year.
haven't got kids, but
You've got 500 horses.
so I probably need a girly trip without horses.
Yeah, although I'm not sure you'd last longer than a week without a horse.
So
There's something about coming home to your animals, though. I was, as good as the holiday has been, it's so lovely coming home to a house full of animals, dogs and horses. They're all just so happy to see you.
Always, aren't they? And
It's unconditional.
So do you think, your children, do you think they're going to have a career in horses, or do you think, I mean, it's early days yet, but...
It's early days. Ludo, definitely not. He'd like to be an engineer. He's very into science. And Iona, if you asked her today, absolutely. She's so excited that I'm here and chatting to you.
How would you feel about Iona kind of pursuing that career? And is it difficult to watch a little bit? Because you mentioned, obviously, the risk and is obviously an amazing growth opportunity, but is it hard sometimes to let go a little bit and just...
She did her first event that was just quite big the other day. And I've always been quite excited for her because she's been jumping at kind of 80. And she did a 90 champs at Dauncey, and it was a really punchy course for her. And she was like talking about how she was going to ride fence 80. And I was like, I mean, you're not going to get to fence 80. She did get round. But that was the first time I thought, I'm like, this is enough for me, that, the stress levels go up. I mean, I've seen it with the Meads. Angela, Harry's mother, does not want Lily to be an eventer. She keeps on saying, oh gosh, I just hope she does not, go into eventing. And obviously she's had her husband, her son, and now potentially her granddaughter, all very excited about it. I don't know. I would be so proud on the one hand, but I also know how difficult it is.
I think my poor mother, all the years she felt physically sick at those big events. I know she used to take Valium at Babbleton and Burghley because she really struggled to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, it must be really...
she did used to get really quite stressed and worried about it.
On one hand, you've got your husband climbing mountains and rowing across oceans, and then your daughter charging around a field at top speeds. It sounds like you manage your stress quite well.
I think there's stress whatever your children do. And even if they're sitting in their room on their own, kind of not doing anything, you're worried about them because, there's always one part of your brain that will find something to worry about. And I think successful life is often about managing those worries and trying to control a little bit that inner monologue.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so what's next for you then? What's next? More team chases, or are you going to go eventing, or...
I was dropped by my daughter's team this year for the team chase. She said she didn't want me on her team. She had some other friends.
So team chasing, do you know what team chasing is? Basically going cross country, isn't it? But it's not so technical as eventing cross country. You're jumping a lot more hedges and rails
in stages
and water.
together, or
you go as a team of four.
Okay.
So you sort of go one after the other. And of course, the horses, have that herd mentality, so they want to stay with all their friends. So it tends to be quite fast and furious.
Sounds quite fun.
But it is great fun.
They don't have to dressage or show jumping.
No, you literally turn up, and I've just actually, Iona just sent me the equi-reel of her team chase. And the most hilarious part is the commentary, as in the commentary of the team, because they pick up all the sound and they're sort of squealing and chattering to each other as they're galloping around this whole course. But it's so lovely to see the joy that it elicits and go
Say
around.
to her for next year, you and Pip will ride.
Yeah, Iona, I'm going to ride your horse next year because I feel like having a go at this team chasing. So your mother's going to drop you from the team, and I'll be... Are you listening to the podcast?
Heartbroken. I'm not going to try and volunteer my services for the team chase. I'm not sure it'll be much use. We have a new little... Well, I keep saying it's new, but it's not a new segment in our podcast. It's a section called Top Tack Tips.
Okay.
Which is essentially some practical advice for those at home, whether it be a piece of equipment or gear that you use for tacking up horses, or something that you couldn't live without, or just a little tip or trick, maybe with having lots of horses at home.
I was quite a traditionalist, and when I got horses again, I dug out all my old tack and sort of furiously oiled it, having it not been used for ages. And actually, slowly, I'm getting into kind of more modern things.
This was fun for a while.
You're not gone sparkly, because I'm the biggest traditionalist, and I don't do sparkles.
I don't do sparkles, although Iona does. And I was riding with my sister, who's really traditional. And she literally this morning, she went into the tack room, and all I just saw was Iona's bridle come out on on a hand going, what is this brow band? I was like, she's 14. But occasionally I'll ride her horse and then I'll see friends of mine and they're like, Marina, what is going on with that horse's tack? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
no, I tell you what, I decided the other day that I was going to buy myself a new saddle, having never had a new saddle, because they're really expensive and, you know, you can usually buy them secondhand. And they're still really expensive secondhand. So I got a saddle made for Jack and for me. And I've got this kind of thigh bit of my leg is really long. So I always find it quite difficult to find a saddle that fits properly. Anyway, it's been a complete game changer.
Really?
And I got to customize it to have like rings where I wanted them to be. Anyway, I
amazing.
love my saddle. And I think my horse loves his saddle too because he's looking and feeling amazing. So that's a good piece of kit.
Marina, just before we finish as well, we've got a little takeaway for everyone at home. And it's for those who love or live with horses, and it's a bit of advice that you give to, you know, people who want to maybe push the comfort zone or are assessing whether it's, you know, worth the risk, that sort of thing. Anything in the equestrian world, you know, what advice would you give to people?
I think that if you're lucky enough to have horses, you've got to try and enjoy them. One of my favourite parts of the day is usually around this time. I go out and feed the horses and kind of change their rugs if they need to, and you know they take a bit of time to eat their feed, and I have to stay there so that make sure they don't steal each other's food. And it's like a half an hour wind down at the end of the day when the sun is setting and the dogs are kind of trying to eat what's coming out of the horses' mouths, and I often just kind of rest my head on their backs and just stop and slow down and think about what really matters. And it's almost like a really indulgent half an hour where I enjoy these animals just for who they are. And I think that we get quite competitive and it becomes all about how much you're winning and how much you're doing. And I think ultimately, if you've got animals, so much of their benefit is in their comfort and just enjoying them for who they are. And I think don't underestimate the huge value in having that. So if you can have, you know, earmark a time of day just to be with them and enjoy them. And I also think, you know, if riding a horse is so much about the relationship you have with them, and that's where the relationship is often made. You know, Iona can school and school and school, but actually if a horse trusts her because she knows that she's the one that's feeding her and itching her and taking the stone out of her hoof, that is what builds a partnership. And that's a really valuable part of being an animal owner.
It's a lovely piece of advice.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. I actually had no idea when I saw Marina was going to be one of our guests. I've obviously heard a lot about Ben Fogle, and I actually wasn't aware of Marina's interest in the horse world, and great that she's keen and so passionate about educating kids and seeing her kids grow up in the pony club, and yeah, it was really, really interesting hearing about her life.
No, absolutely. Very, very insightful guest. And if you've loved what you're hearing on Talk Horse, please do subscribe so you're always in the loop.
Tell all your friends. Send in your questions.
Leave us a review because it helps us canter up the charts. We're doing quite well in the charts recently, so please help us keep on pushing. It allows us to get some amazing guests, do a lot more live shows and do a lot more exciting things with Talk Horse.
So join us next time. We've got lots more fascinating, interesting guests. So yeah, tell your mates and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.